in the waiting room just yet. But we are recording.
All right. So we're going to start this meeting with an icebreaker. And we will name one of our heroes, living or deceased, and why you admire them in 30 seconds or less. So I'm going to start mine out with Sue Pike. I know you're a mom and a wife, but you're also a great friend, an amazing volunteer, not only for the Beaverton Arts Commission, but the Beaverton Garden Club, the Beaverton Women's Club, I Sing Choir, Bethel Church. She makes amazing coffee. She'll bring huge jugs of it for everybody, wonderful cookies, and Beaverton Chamber of Commerce. She still finds time to mow a half an acre of lawn and take walks with her friends. So I admire you.
Thank you, Shelley.
Who would like to go next? Somebody want to tell me your hero? Here we go, Peg's away.
Okay, my answer is always Amelia Earhart, because she broke a lot of glass ceilings. She did what she wanted to do because she absolutely adored it. And she believed in that she could do those things. And even though she was way ahead of her time in terms of what was okay for a woman to do or how it was okay to live or acceptable, she just went ahead and did it. And I've always admired her courage and the fact that she didn't let opinions that didn't really matter to her hold her back.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else?
I'll go with Shelley. And I'm sure this is someone that a lot of people admire, but definitely Ruth Bader Ginsburg. For so many reasons, especially since, I watched 2 different documentaries about her life and the things that I didn't realize to really help the women's rights movement. So she's fantastic, and may her memory be a blessing. Thanks.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else? All right, Laura Mitchell.
I really just look up to Frederick Douglass. I think that he is just so inspiring, born into slavery, escaped slavery, preached education and women's rights, and just absolutely a hero for all of us.
Thank you, Counselor. Anyone else?
I'll go next. I'll go with my old standby, which is Jimmy Carter. I think whether or not you felt he was a great president, he's definitely a great person, and he's given so much of his life to service, helping the poor, Habitat for Humanity. He's still going. It's just, which is amazing to me. So
I saw a finger there, Ryan.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter is a great one. I have many heroes that I've had throughout my life, but the one I've been thinking about lately is one of my old bosses, actually, Fred Foster, who founded ETC, which is Electronic Theater Controls, and makes a lot of the theatrical consoles and lights that you see in the theaters out there. He had an approach to business where we were all family, and that was the most important part. Business came second, and he showed it every day at work, whether he came by and dropped by your office, even though you were like the smallest guy on the totem pole, or came and gave you ice cream because it was hot outside. And he approached everyone with respect, from the executive to the janitor, as if they were all equals. And just those daily heroes and living the normal life and being positive in the normal things, I find great value. So.
Great, thank you. And who's next? Destry.
My current hero that comes to mind is Greta Thunberg. She's the young environmental activist that I'm sure many of us are familiar with. And I think the work that she's doing as a young woman is so amazing at her age, the kind of notoriety and the message and the work that she's doing for the environment. She's become a household name. And she's, I think, just turned 16. And it's inspirational to see someone younger than me kind of even paving the way for women that are older than her.
Great, thank you. Jim?
I'm going to go in the opposite direction and kind of lighten up the room here and be a little silly, but yeah, I'm going to go with Tom Brady. He proved that ageism is nothing. You know, the old folks can still go out there and get it done. That's inspiration. And I never root for him, but you know, but that's you got to admire that.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else? Jane?
I'll go next. I had a little trouble picking one of because I'm in a book club and we read so many books about amazing women, but I'm going to just say Melinda Gates because I just finished her book and just the work that the Gates Foundation does, she and Bill and, you know, all the people on the foundation, but the work they do for people in third world countries to provide food and nutrition and immunizations. And they do, like Greta, they focus on the environment and try to reduce the carbon emissions. And I guess just in general, the work they do to help women in third world countries. I just think it's amazing what you can do. I mean, they have money, they don't have to put it towards that, but they choose to do it. So her book is very good if you haven't read it.
Great, thank you. And I see that April, you've just joined us. We're doing a 30-second who's your hero or someone you admire, just as an icebreaker. So anybody next? Lynn.
So I have to say a singer. So I'm gonna go with Ella Fitzgerald. And it's because even, you know, during some of the most terrible times where, you know, you guys have probably seen the picture of her where she's thrown in jail because her and Dizzy Gillespie were, you know, in her dressing room throwing dice. And there's another reference that says, you know, she was put in jail for singing to white people. You know, the courage that it takes to stand in front of an audience just as a performer is one thing. To know that you could potentially be in danger is another thing. So I'm going to say Ella Fitzgerald.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else like to share? You're the hero? Allison.
You all are some of my heroes as arts commissioners, and all the arts commissioners that served before us. I greatly respect and admire everyone's dedication and leadership in advocating for the arts. So thank you.
Thank you. Next. Sydney.
I would have to say my hero is probably my dad. He was a fighter pilot in the Air Force for 30 years. And when I was growing up, he served 9 deployments back to back and ended up serving the most deployments in his unit. And he's retired now, but everything I know about being a good person, a good leader comes from him. So yeah.
Sounds wonderful.
That's awesome.
Anybody else? Rebecca.
I have to follow that with my dad too. There's all these names everyone's mentioned of, you know, same and so many others, but my dad has always been a central figure to me. And like you said, Sydney, just everything I know about being a good person, you said it perfectly. I got from my dad, and I miss him every day. He's been gone almost 20 years now. And every day I have he had all these funny little sayings, you know, and darn if they don't apply all the time. So I'm grateful for that.
It's really wonderful. And Sharon?
Well, I can't remember who it was that said Ruth, because she was going to be who I was going to say, but following in the heels of our parents, I'm going to say my mom. My mother was a nurse. My daughter is a nurse. I was a nurse. And my mother was taken off this earth at the age of 52. She was diagnosed at 40 with cancer. And yet she would go and work until she was hospitalized, get out of the hospital and work, and go get hospitalized and work. So her work ethic and her nurturing and her lessons of life remain with me, even though she was taken when I was in my 20s. So I would like to honor her.
Sounds like an amazing woman. And anyone else, would you like to share?
Sure. So I think one of the thoughts that comes to my mind are the people who are working in our grocery stores. You know, they're definitely my heroes here as I go to get my food, and just all the nurses and doctors and people who are just keeping our world as moving as much as it can. So.
I have to add one more. I feel bad that I didn't say this, but my husband is an ICU nurse. I see a theme here, and he has been dealing with COVID as well, and so I have to throw him in as one of my heroes, and really all of the healthcare workers. I mean, this just has been an insane year for them.
Can I just show a picture of my mom?
Absolutely.
So here are the 3 generations.
Oh,
right here. That's
lovely.
My mom, me, and my daughter.
That's amazing. Do we have anyone else that would like to share their hero?
Any of our guests?
Sankar, would you like to share?
I do have, who inspires me is my students. So I work with English learners, elementary age, and I got to work with some kindergartners today that another teacher's been working with, and I haven't seen them since the beginning of the year, and they're brand new English speakers, and wow, how much they've learned in this short time, all virtually. And it just inspires me, their perseverance, their dedication to sit in front of a computer at age 5, and excited to learn. And so they inspire me.
Awesome.
Yeah, I will go too. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I'm looking at all of you. Many of you are volunteers working at 6:30 tonight. My organization, our organization, is entirely run by volunteers. You would be surprised to know that there are about 50 of them actually contributing to our organization, every single one of them balancing multiple things. And in spite of that, they find time to volunteer for this cause. So I'm really always thankful and look up to them. And I always think they are one of our all-time heroes are my volunteers. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Does anyone else want to share? Are we moving on to the next? All right. So now we will have Councilmember Laura Mitchell give us council updates.
Thank you. Gosh, that's a hard act to follow. Everything was so inspirational, and now we're just moving straight to it. So I do have to say one thing though, you know, everybody's heroes were so amazing. And to Gina's point, I try and really make it a point. I go shopping at odd times just because I'm always so busy, and I make it a point to always, you know, speak with my checkers and just let them know that I appreciate them. And you know, what they do is hard, and we need them to keep our world going. And so that's awesome that I know that other people are feeling that way too. So all right, well, straight into it. The council has been working a lot on, you know, kind of buttoning things up from last year into this year. So we, as far as boards and commissions go, we focused on the external ones and the internal Beaverton ones. So it seems like we have everybody assigned and we should be good to go. that's a really huge undertaking because there's so many different schedules at play, and all these meetings are at all different times. And Mayor Beatty really put a lot of work into that, especially when it came to coordinating schedules. That is really tough. So she did a great job. Everybody has been really good spirited about where they're supposed to be and how they're helping the team. So that's been refreshing. And then we've also been making sure, amidst all of the city manager changes, that we're keeping business as usual, because we still have priorities to push forth. We still have everyday work to get through. It just so happens we have this additional very heavy lift, which is making sure we can hire a city manager, get all of that criteria buttoned up. The amount of thought and consideration that goes into a position like that is huge. We hired 2 associate judges last year, and wow, I thought that that was a pretty comprehensive outline of a job description, and looking at the characteristics, that was a huge heavy lift. But this is even bigger, when we're thinking about the whole of our city and all of the infrastructure that goes with it. Finding that perfect person with that perfect skill set is a needle in a haystack. And so I think there's a lot of good energy that's going towards that. And the criteria that we're putting together is really going to bring that person to us. So we're really excited about it. We also have been working, we had the HRAC present their recommendations to us with regard to policing and school resource officers. So we're still working through that. There's a lot of thought also that goes into that with regard to information comparison, right? So people present stuff to us, and then we take a look at how the city functions, how does it compare, what's best for the city as a whole, are all the right stakeholders at present when we're talking about these changes. So if we didn't think that we were up for the challenge, we wouldn't have changed the entire form of government and then hired a city manager. Now we're still dealing with COVID and policing as a whole. So, it's a heck of a time to be in office right now. And so it's definitely, I think one of my personal goals is to really kind of rein in, reality is always going to be there, but trying to pool that positivity can be a little challenging sometimes. So I really look forward to this meeting, because it seems that, that positivity is just radiating. So it's always a breath of fresh air. And then as far as, anything else that we're doing, it's just kind of, looking at, we're going to be dealing with budget coming up. So that's another thing that's, it's so funny, because years back, flashback, it's like, oh my gosh, budget, I'm so stressed out. Now it's like, okay, fine. We got this. We know what stress is now at a different level. So that's what's going on in council.
Awesome, thank you. And I don't think I even mentioned to any of our new members that my husband is also a city councilor. So I know exactly what she's going through, and budget's usually this fat. It's a lot of reading and a lot of work. So thank you so much for your work.
Yes, well, and to that point, when Beth was calling the roll, I'm so used to going after Fagin that I was so prepared. And I'm like, wait a second, this is not that meeting. So
That's funny.
Awesome. Okay, well, shall we move on to the election of the officers?
I think we were going to have a Grantee Spotlight.
Oh, okay, sorry. I don't know why it wasn't on. All right, so.
I'm wondering if maybe you're looking at the first draft of the agenda. You want me to send you I'll send you or I can put it in the chat. But we were going to have, Sankar, that's you.
Oh, thank you. Can I share a presentation if it's all right?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I think you should be able to share your screen. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, we can't hear you. You're on mute still.
Okay, can you hear me? Sorry, the typical Zoom call starts with, can you hear me? Okay, I hope you can hear me now. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. And I will go through it very quickly about what we do, who we are, and then get into, how much we depend on Beaverton funding from Beaverton Arts Commission. We will talk about that as well. So anyway, my name is Sankar. I'm the founder and the current board president of the Immigrant Story. We usually work with, it is art and culture organization. We mainly work on storytelling. That's all we do actually. But then behind the scene, we also do a lot of other things. And mainly we use arts and culture, the storytelling, narrative, nonfiction mainly, and visual art to do advocacy work, mainly about immigrants and especially with the immigrants of color. We use our core fundamental way of telling stories is writing, and we write in the short form, nonfiction, and some of our stories are little bit longer, and we have evolved our own unique style. And we also have a live storytelling event every 6 months. We do a live storytelling event that is fashioned after Moth Radio Hour, and we have now embarked on a podcast. And we also heavily rely on visual art, mainly photography, portraiture, photojournalism, and we also work with other photographers, specifically with Jim Lomason, who does the work, what it is called What We Carried. We also spend a lot of energy on our graphic design, how we present our stories and other stuff. And we are embarking on video documentary, short stories, about 5 minutes video documentary. And we will be showing in multiple places. All our interviews are recorded and we consider it as a part of the oral history traditions, and we archive them as a part of Oregon historical importance in Oregon Historical Society, and we explore thematically. It could be, DACA residents, or it could be women, Muslim women who wear hijab, or it could be immigrants of color who started coming in 1965. There is usually a specific reason. For example, we explored the Muslim woman wearing hijab right after the Max event happened to just understand that community. And we explore it through photography and writing. We also offer scholarships for writing. We have mentors. Most of our mentors are experienced journalists. The students use our organization as a springboard into their careers. We work with the Beaverton School District, Sunset High School, for example, and that curriculum is offered to all the classes. In fact, we will be offering a class to the teachers for the upcoming years in Lewis and Clark as a credited class. So we are, people don't know the history aspect of exploration we do and the educational aspect of what we do because it's underneath most of the visual stuff that we do. So here are some examples. We have every 6 months, we do storytelling. The last one was in September. We came from it's called Dreams Deferred Live. We broadcasted live without any audience from St. Andrew's Church in Beaverton as a part of Beaverton Welcoming Week. We will talk about it a little bit later. And in 3 years, we have been in business. We have about 15 exhibitions. We are creating 3 new exhibitions this year. We usually, all of them obviously explore migration in a thematic sense. And we launched a podcast. It's called Many Roads to Here. Every month it comes out. We work collaboratively with the PRP radio, Portland Radio Project is the full name. Video documentaries, we talked about it. We really believe in we believe in creating conversations and very important topics that are usually tough sometimes, and to bring our stories to the public spaces. We believe that when you share a powerful story, you really help change the narrative of today's America. We believe we can change the world by telling stories, and we do our work by just simply telling stories. And we are ultimately, we want to bring the community together by letting everybody know who our neighbors are, how diverse our neighbors, our community has become. Um, so we are truly a West Side story in the sense that we are one of the art and culture organization that operate out of the West Side. We are founded and operate from Beaverton, Hillsborough area. We do work a lot in the downtown Portland, but we also come a lot to the West Side. We go as far as Forest Grove, and Cornelius in the Washington County. But a lot of every year we have been coming to Beaverton, at least one program in Beaverton. We feature many Beaverton residents. We bring our performances to the West Side consistently. We are, supported by the city of Beaverton as well as the Beaverton Arts Commission. Thank you very much. I think, we will hear more about how your support has helped us in the next few slides. And, we are an art and culture organization doing equity work by advocating for the immigrants of color, by telling stories and bringing the culture to everywhere. We use storytelling as a means of elevating voices, as I said before. So Beaverton Welcoming Week is one of the things that we do every year. We have come to the Beaverton Welcoming Week for the last 3 years. And the next year also we will be here, 2021. So this is basically a culturally relevant event. We bring in very culturally specific music, and it will be a live storytelling. As an example, last September during the Beaverton Welcoming Week, which is organized, you probably already know, you are from the city of Beaverton. So it's organized by the city of Beaverton, but it is a great opportunity for us. We have become a marquee event for that programming. We either start the program last year, we started the program and we ended the 1 week program. And it was a Dreams Deferred Live, that's what it's called. We brought in 6 DACA residents of the West Side. Most of them, all of them are Washington County residents. Some of them are from Beaverton. And they talked and they told their personal life story. And we also had a live music that was from the Central American region, from Mexico, around that area. So we had a music and then the storytelling, that's our format. And it was very well produced, well attended, and often well received. Last year's was no exception. We have been doing that for the last 3 years. And we are also planning to come back in 2021. And this time we will be talking about 6 actually 6 genocide survivors. When we talk about genocide survivors, it's a major genocides like Congo, Rwanda, Cambodia, Bosnia, and they lived to tell their story. One of them is a Beaverton resident. He is from Rwanda, and they will be live and presenting their story, and we'll also have a music to go with it. It's called I Am My Story Live. And we typically put in 2 funding requests for this. One is the Beaverton Arts Council request for, I think it's called Project Grant. I think that's what it is. And then we also ask the Equity Office of the Beaverton City to support ourselves. So together, to put a program like this, it costs us about $10,000. It's a lot of money. We don't charge any fee or ticket for storytelling event. Typically, Math Radio Hour charges $40 to $20, $20 to $40. All the storytelling events in Portland, Oregon charges at least $20, as far as I know. We don't ask for any money. It's all our events are free. So our funding primarily comes from submission of grants and donors. And that's what propelled us doing this. And typically, like I said, it's cost like $10,000, the level that we are working with today. So, it's a great opportunity for us to be here every year. We are coming to the Beaverton. We are already put in 2021. We are expecting that you guys will give us the money. That's a plug for you guys. We are going to submit this once you guys open it up. This is very important for us. I just want to say our success actually depends on our community support, because we are in a community organization. We are dependent on the community support. And then the other one, you supported this one. To Bear Witness is about genocide and Holocaust survivors stories. We are producing multimedia content that is podcast, oral history, recording the oral history, and recording this short 5 to 6 minute documentary professionally done by videographers around here. And also photography exhibition that goes with it. And this exhibition is going to start in October 2021 in Oregon Jewish Museum, and then it will travel nationwide. It tells about immigrants and refugees. All of them are refugees except few who escaped major genocides. Like we start with the Holocaust and end with the current one in Burma. This is Rohingya. This picture is of Mohammed, who is from Burma, is a Rohingya. That crisis is still ongoing. Or the stories about Yemen, or the story about Syria that is currently ongoing. So we pick about 12 to 14 stories from 8 different major events. And that's what this exhibition is all about. And funding for this project was interrupted because we were about to put in some big exhibitions, funding request. And most of the funding at that time were shifted away from the arts and culture to COVID relief, COVID related funding. So our funding for 2020 was completely disrupted. So this was at risk of producing, and we did not qualify for many of the COVID relief programs either, because we don't charge collections, even though we produce a lot of these exhibitions, a lot of these storytelling events. Since we don't have great collection, we couldn't argue that we lost money because of the COVID. So because of this very, very specific position we are in, we were not qualified for many of those COVID relief. So anyway, to cut the long story short, I was really, really happy Beaverton Art Commission's COVID relief fund was only COVID relief fund we got, and we utilized that money towards to Bear Witness funding. So, thank you very much. I really appreciate all the support you have been giving, and arts and culture of Beaverton and this area. We want to be a permanent, storytellers and music organizing, telling stories and bringing music of you normally don't hear about those things. When we hear about music that we are bringing. We are going to bring for the September this year event, we are going to bring in or simulate what's called a Sarajevo string quartet. The reason why we are doing that is Sarajevo string quartet was actually running and producing music for about 203 shows during the Bosnian Civil War, 3 years. They lost 2 violinists to the genocide. So this is what we do, and I think support like you guys are doing to bring these kind of music. Otherwise, Beaverton, for that matter, Portland would not hear these voices. So it is important. So thank you very much for supporting us. And I think that's all I have. Maybe I have one more. Yeah, this is from last year when we had. This is the last time when people were gathering. This photograph was Beaverton Welcoming Week. Anyway, our website, we are on the web, the immigrantstory.org. We are on the podcast, Many Roads to Here. You can get that podcast from anywhere where you get your, normally you get your podcast. And then we have the live YouTube channel. Immigrant Story live channel is also there. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, of course. Please like us, support us, and thank you very much. And I will stop here. I think I will just stop here and open up any questions you may have.
Thank you, Sankar. That was an amazing presentation. We really appreciate you sharing your story, and we look forward to seeing more.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, Rebecca.
Hi, Sankar. I just had a couple of things to mention. As many of you know, I'm married to a man from Iran, and Sankar sat in our dining room with him for 4 hours and interviewed him. And he told his whole story, and I learned things about him I didn't know. And it was amazing. So I just like to make the point that from the immigrant side as well, it is an incredibly powerful experience and so meaningful to them to feel so honored, that someone would go to the trouble to hear their whole story. I mean, it's really an amazing thing. That's number one. And number two, there's an exhibit down at Blue Sky Gallery, if you're not familiar with it, right now through the end of February, right, Sankar?
Yeah.
That Paige Stoyer and Jim Lomason have put together. I don't know, maybe you know more about it than I do. I haven't seen it, but I hear it's a beautiful exhibit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It is a photo contest. It is crowdsourced photographs. It's out there. It is also virtually available.
Yeah, right. Through Blue Sky Gallery. It's a specific gallery downtown. If you're not familiar with it, that just does photography. So you can access it virtually, or you can do it. You can make by appointment. You can go in and see it. So I'm hoping to go down and see it in person because sounds fun.
Yeah, our next exhibition is going to be in whenever Oregon Historical Society opens up. It's going to be our I Am My Story, Voices of Hope, that will talk about 6 African women, young women in the 20s. They are all children of genocide survivors. This year, we are going to be talking a lot about genocide survivors. And the next year, we've promised we'll be talking about food and love and other things that are closer to us. Yeah.
Well, it's just amazing what you're doing. It's so powerful and so important in these days, where the past 4 years where the immigrants have been, don't get me started, but I'm very grateful for your work. I think it's very important.
You've become our hero.
Oh,
yay!
I have, thank you. It's not, there are 50 volunteers, like I told you. There are writers, you don't want me to read my writing. There are good writers, there are journalists, student journalists. So yeah, I'm grateful for their hours of work they put in. We came to Rebecca's house with another volunteer. We sat down in the dining room table. We discussed all kinds of stuff with them. Dora wrote that story. Yeah.
Right. So if you go to the immigrantstory.org, you'll see my husband there and his picture that Sankar took out in our back patio.
Yeah.
And then the write-up that she did. And so
Yeah.
it's very special.
Any other questions?
Sankar, I think offline, I would like to tell you about somebody who has a cafe in Southeast Portland on Division, who's a musician and cafe owner that immigrated to this country.
Yeah, please send me a note. We always looking for stories. If you know some stories that we need to talk about, we crowdsource all our stories, people like you suggesting stories. Thank you.
I may know someone as well. I know someone who came from Cambodia, escaped, and so I don't know if she'd be willing to tell her story, but I've heard it and it's very compelling. So if you could put your your email address or
I am doing right now.
Great.
This is sankar@theimmigrantstory.org. And I think I spelled it right, theimmigrantstory.org. So I just put it on the chat. So send me a note, any questions, anything that you may have, theimmigrantstory.org. So I'd love to hear from you. Beth, thank you very much for inviting me and all your support as well. I appreciate it. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. If you have any questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I will drop off if you don't mind.
Yeah, feel free to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so now I need to push forward because I have to jump in the car and leave. So we need to get going through the election for chair, vice chair, and recorder.
All right, so according to the bylaws, the staff liaison is the person that runs the election. So the way that it works is we start with the chair and we call for nominations for the chair and decide who the chair will be. Then we go to vice chair and then we go to recorder. It's very specific about the order.
All right.
So we will open the floor for nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Allison Ballbag for chair.
Thanks, Shelley.
Second it.
Awesome. So, at a second?
A second.
Yeah, got Jim as a second. You don't have a recorder, so I don't.
Zoom is recording it for us,
So, Beth?
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, we will take a vote on Dr. Allison Ballbag being nominated for the chair of the BAC.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Looks like we have a unanimous vote.
Yay. Thank you,
Yes.
Allison.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for
That was
stepping
easy.
up.
On it.
All right, now we'll take nominations for the vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Jane Dahl for vice chair. Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
2 seconds. Anyone else want to, anybody else want to try for the nomination, or are we just going to move forward? All right, so all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Unanimously voted in as vice chair. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
Yay. Thank you, Jane.
I have to leave because we have to get a diabetic dog to Washington before we leave for our trip to Montana. So, and I have to beat the storm. So, thank you, everyone. It was an honor serving in 2020.
Godspeed.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thanks, Shelley. Safe travels.
Good luck with the twins.
Travel safely, travel safely.
Thanks so much, Shelley.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And then lastly, we have the position of recorder. If anyone has any questions about that, what that entails, I can also answer questions about that. Does anyone like to nominate themselves or someone else to be recorder? Sadly, we lost Mary Ellen Baker, who was the best recorder ever. It's gonna be hard to fill her shoes, but she had some great tips. She said that she just wrote up the minutes directly after the meeting, so she didn't forget. And then she would send them right to me, and then I'd review them. And if there were any edits that needed to be made, I would do that with her the following day. But I can send you the agenda in a Word format so that when you take notes, you're not having to retype everything. And there is actually a recorder training that's offered. It's not mandatory, but if you're interested in the position, the city recorder for the city of Beaverton actually provides like a really interesting training on best practices in being a minute taker, and she has some good tips and tricks. There's got to be one person out there that wants to do it.
I could be persuaded, I suppose, to jump in with both feet.
Nominate April.
Second, thank you, April. Thank you so much.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, April. So I guess, Allison, now you're on. You can take over the meeting.
So did we have any public comment? Did we have any visitors?
I saw Rozzy A name pop up and then went away, so I don't think so.
Alrighty, so next is approvals of the minutes from January. Did anyone have any questions, or was there anything we needed to discuss from the minutes that were sent out?
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Thanks, Sharon.
I'll second it.
Great. Thanks, Rebecca.
You bet.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, great. Minutes approved. And it was painless. That's nice. Okay, so, and now we're back on schedule. We're ahead of time now.
Woo.
So
You're doing a really good job already, Allison. I'm really impressed.
All right, so next is a group discussion. And we had started to talk about subcommittees at our last meeting. And in light of some feedback that's been received from commissioners, it seems that this being the top of the year, this would be a good time to possibly hit pause for a second on breaking out into subcommittees and discuss as a full board the meat and potatoes, per se, of the Arts Commission. So our purpose, our mission on the Arts Commission is to advance the arts. That's why we're all here in one form or another. And our purpose is to advise the city on the arts. So this is a discussion to talk about what direction we would like to head in as a board, and also a discussion on whether our role as advisors to the city is happening. And if it hasn't been happening, how may we be able to make it happen so that our advisory role is heard and seen. Does anyone have any thoughts that they would like to share? Rebecca.
I might just like to start off with asking about, is this in place of our annual retreat kind of a thing where we spend the better part of a day discussing all this stuff? Or was there any plan to do that or not? Or
So to my knowledge, this is not in place of a retreat. This is basically just having an open discussion on this topic. This has come up in the past also, and revisiting it so we can basically get things straightened out and move forward as efficiently as possible.
right, okay. I just wondered if there was any plan to try to do some kind of quasi-virtual retreat or anything. Do you know, Beth, or is that?
I think that's definitely an option. I think that probably would be important. And that might involve bringing in an equity and inclusion component and perhaps training element to it. Perhaps some overviews on the advisory role of the commission, how the city's budget process works, or any other trainings that the commission might want, or any refreshers that the commission might want. But we could also do some of that in meetings as well. So for example, our city attorney can come to the next meeting and talk about public meeting law and just give a little refresher on that. So we can schedule topics out, but yeah, I think it would also be appropriate to have, a retreat or a meeting where we don't do any other business other than talk about where we're going as a commission.
I think it's appropriate for that direction because we've been talking about this for a couple of years. And I think it's a lengthy discussion. Seems to me we've been going around in a lot of circles. So I'd like to see things spelled out in a form that this is, A, B to C. But we've been working on this for a while, and take what we've already gotten and tweak it or do whatever we got to do to figure this out and move it forward. I think the retreat would be the appropriate place where we could really concentrate and get that hammered out so we can move on.
I totally agree. And I think, Rebecca, you and I had a mind meld there. That kind of approach, especially the timing being that we have new people coming on board. We have people like me who are new-ish. We have people who've been here for quite a while. And it's kind of revisiting what it is that we do. What can we do? What's outside of our purview? All of those things need to be kind of redefined or reevaluated.
Yeah, and it seems like, with the change from Laura to Beth, and then we got into the research thing, and then of course COVID really messed everything up. And so even in all the 8 years, Jim, you correct me, that we've been on, there's this constant always conversation about how much are we just advisory, or how much decision making do we make, and what is the level of communication required between staff and the commission relative to what's staff doing, and how much do we get involved in that besides showing up for events and volunteering once in a while, or I mean, just getting real clear about what we all do. I know before Peg came on, she called me and said, so what's really going on here? Do you really make a difference? Do you really get involved? Do you really have a say? And I could look back over the years and say that, yeah, we've done a lot as far as the public art and the grants and a lot of different things that we've been really involved in. And then of course with COVID this year, it's been really, we haven't had the events, so we haven't been involved in so many things that we have been in the past. So it's a weird year. I feel sorry for people who came on last year because you just really didn't get the feel for what all you get to do. And but we get a chance to reinvent ourselves after COVID, and after the research gets opened up, as far as what our role as the commission in interfacing with the staff, and and all that. So.
But we don't need to start from scratch because we've been working.
Right.
I think we have a big footprint of,
Yes.
that we've accomplished, or we just have to put them into concise, and again, things have changed and
Yeah. I mean, there's a big difference in our communications. For example, Jim and I were on the social media committee, and that just got all kiboshed, because the city didn't want the commission doing their own Facebook page, for example, and that kind of thing. We had our own Twitter account, we had our own everything going on. And where are we with all that kind of thing? That, I think that our communications with the community and all that kind of thing are just so important. I've said all along that the arts in Beaverton are like our best kept secret, and we really need to get the word out as much as we can. And yet, we've kind of had our hands tied behind our backs in a way. I don't know. There's just a lot of things that I think would be good to talk about and see.
Yeah. I just
want
wanted to build on to what Jim and Rebecca, what you were saying. Jim and Sharon and Mary Ellen and Laura and I spent a lot of time on looking at the bylaws. It was in 2019 in the spring. And last we heard the bylaws were going to the city attorney. And Laura, I don't know if you have any knowledge, but then we never heard anything else about them. And when I look at the rewrites that we did to the bylaws that are posted, nothing was ever done with all that work we did. And I was just wondering if it was held up with the city attorney, or if the city council ever saw it, or what happened. And that's something we can discuss. And when we look at what is our purpose, what is our role, how do we support Beth in the city, pulling up those bylaws that we worked on for so long. I mean, we worked on it for like 4 or 5 months, and then it's still in draft form, I guess. Laura, do you have any comment?
A year and a half ago, right? Really?
It was in like spring of 2019.
Yeah. So that got stalled, and
yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge about that. So the department that helps support boards and commissions, I was told that they were wanting to bundle the bylaw changes and take more than one at one time to city council. So I think it just never got agendized for whatever reason. And when I brought this up to that person just this last week, they said, oh, wait a minute, you're right. That hasn't gone to council yet. So I don't think it was intentional. I think it was, council's had a lot on their plate, and getting it agendized in a way that makes sense so that things are bundled so that when it goes to council, it's efficient. I think that was sort of the driving factor behind it. But we can certainly pick that discussion back up. I mean, I've read the bylaws, and there's things I might tweak a little bit myself.
And we have all that work, Beth, where you can see the strikeouts and the rewrites.
Yeah, I've got that from Laura, Laura Becker.
Take another look at it if we're going to look at our purpose and mission and such again, and just see where we want to go. But I thought, and Jim and Sharon, maybe you remember, I thought Laura said there's only certain times of the year or certain years, like is it every 2 years that we can submit a change? Or Beth, do you know if there's a rule about that? I thought there was like a timeline, and that's what we were trying to meet.
I don't know, actually.
Laura, do you know?
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I just, typically I think that people want to initiate new bylaws at the beginning of a year, whatever their fiscal year, whatever that looks like. So generally they'll queue them up and then they'll do them. I mean, I suppose you could, if there were a pressing issue, you could probably do them at any time of the year. But otherwise, I have not heard about any limitations. Now, there could be, but I haven't heard of any.
Who would we find out from? Who would know?
Beth, I would talk to the city attorney to see if there's any timing, and also that I don't know if it's Lanny that you're working with.
Lanny.
Yep. She'll probably know right out of the gate. So.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, keep us in limbo. I mean, if we're trying to create a direction here and they're doing, if we can't even get the bylaws that, the ones before were just antiquated. They were, they didn't fit us at all. So, let's know what we're talking about. But yeah, it's been a year and a half. So
Yeah. Well, those are the ones that are still posted, the old ones.
the old ones, really no.
And
the other thing that I think might be helpful for the commission that I'm happy to provide or bring in other departments to kind of give an overview of are some of just the governing documents that provide direction to the city, city staff, city council, like our diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. The city's been working on I just learned about this today. It's called the People's History of Beaverton Project, and it's a collaboration with Five Oaks History Museum. And they're working to put together all of these stories of, not the typical sort of pioneer stories, but stories that focus on, Native Americans, people that contributed to Beaverton in other ways that aren't represented in a lot of the histories that we tell. And then, of course, just organizationally, budget timelines, how the arts program fits in the public engagement department, which is a fairly new department. And then how that used to be part of the mayor's department, and now we have a different mayor, and now it's called the Community Services and Engagement Department. So there's been a lot of changes in the organization, and I think very good changes that are going to be really helpful, but kind of helping you guys understand where you fit in that whole process and what's guiding decision making, both for staff, for council, and then hopefully for the BAC as well.
Yeah, Beth was able to give us, to Allison, Shelley, and I, that org chart, or he did, and it was so helpful because, yeah, with the whole new city government changing, it was like, where do we fit in and who's making the decisions? And, there were so many grants that Beth presented to us. And when we were looking over them, and I think this is, a shout out for looking at the subcommittees or the committees to seeing if they're even appropriate anymore in this new hybrid environment that we're in. If we're still going to be virtual and artists are having a hard time, either selling their art or performing their art or whatever the case might be, is if we look at committees to say, to look at how can we help them. There might be a creative way where we can help them. Yeah, maybe they can't do a performance, but maybe there's another way that we can support. I was just thinking what Sankar was saying about, everyone on his staff is volunteering. So maybe some of these people that we gave grants to pay their rent, maybe they'd be great to do photographs or do some stories and help him out. So just sharing ideas like that, to getting our artists more useful and feeling that they can do something during these times where you can't be going out and being creative, if that's your, modality.
Peg?
Yeah, I'm listening to the history here, and as a total newcomer, what I'm wondering is there a single clear, like a mission statement or a statement of what we as a commission contribute? Is there a hole in Beaverton's governance that says this is what the Arts Commission contributes, this is what you do, this is, and I know there are bylaws which tell you legally and so forth, but I guess I'm looking for a mission statement beyond we love art and we want to promote art.
Yeah, the commission does have a mission statement. And I think there's a little confusion sometimes between between what the BAC's kind of mission statement and goals are and the art program. So the BAC fits into where the art program is going. And they're not always completely the same, because there's a lot of components to the arts program that are, separate from what the BAC does. So I do think that needs to be clarified. And then there's also, like I said, just all of these other governing documents and discussions that are happening in the community, like, the community visioning process, the equity and inclusion plan, things like that. So, I think if we we're able to have a retreat where we could kind of talk about all of those and lay those out for you guys, I think that would really help. And then I think also just having, you know, a conversation about equity and inclusion at some point and being very deliberate about that. And then after doing that, we might, as a group, decide that we do want to do a new mission statement, or tweak the mission statement, or take on other projects that we haven't even thought about before, or focus on certain partnerships that we haven't ever thought about before, or maybe we reinvigorate ones that we have had before.
Yeah, now I'm confused because you said that Arts Commission is different from an arts, what did you say, committee or something like that?
The arts program.
Arts program.
So the arts program is part of the city public engagement division.
Okay.
And so I can't go into the whole of it right now. I really need to like lay out some documents for you guys so you could kind of understand how it all works.
Yeah, the arts program is more staff is how I think of it, and the arts commission are this group of volunteers. That's how I think of it. Does that make sense, Beth?
We're feeding ideas, or we're feeding
Ideas into the arts program, which is city staff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we are
We're not
advisory to city staff arts program.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That helps.
I have a question, and that has to do, well, I remember when I started and I thought, okay, there's Beaverton Arts Program, Beaverton Arts Foundation, Beaverton Arts Commission. Okay, we've got the back and the back and the back, you know. So a question I have is, there was a Beaverton Arts Commission 2019 handbook.
Mm-hmm.
Has it been revised since 2019?
2020.
Oh, you have the 20? I guess I don't have the 20 for some reason. And I had to develop my own notebook, because on another commission, we're kind of given those things, and I try and keep things up to date. So I'm functioning on an old one, and I'm wondering if we need to, Ryan, you probably know since you've got it right in front of you, whether
I've been reading it while you guys have been talking.
Oh, good. So whether or not, you know, the mission statement, vision statement, tag, whatevers are in there, and whether they need we need to have not just a retreat, but a working session to dive into that.
Yeah, the new members were just given the 2021 hot off the presses. But, you know, those are things that can be distributed to the whole commission as well for your refreshers. And yeah, I think it's a good, we're at a good point. I think that the organization has changed so much in the last year, that we're at a really good point to have this conversation about where are we going, you know, here.
I would like to see it not just go to new members, but everybody.
Yeah.
I think, Sharon, you and I started at the same time, so we have the 2019.
Yeah.
And then when people came on, they got the updated ones, but we never, yeah, you're right, we never received them because I have.
Right. And I had a conversation with Allison just recently about communication. And I think communication is so key in anything. It doesn't matter if it's BAC or BCCI or Planning Commission, whatever. So, I mean, really, it is the key to making sure that we all are on the same page, singing from the same sheet. You know, I mean, and if I'm back on 2019, Ryan's on 2020, and everybody else has got 2021. Yeah, we need to tighten that up.
Agreed.
Just a little bit of detail. So you guys say that there's been something that's been passed forward to the city attorney, and it's waiting approval from the board. I haven't ever seen that. And it's not posted online because it's not approved, obviously.
Me neither.
And it's not in my resources that are received.
It's our bylaws. That's what we find. And the bylaws hadn't been updated for years. And so we did that. So that's what we're waiting on.
No. That's what I'm talking about. Is that if there's a version out there of our bylaws, I'd like to see it so that I can understand the conversation. Like I know the old bylaws, but I don't know the new ones that are sitting on the city attorney's desk or or awaiting an agenda item for the city council for approval at the moment. So I don't know that conversation. So when we do have our conversation or our retreat or whatever it is, I just need a little background. That's all.
Yes, me too.
Stamp
Me too.
out. You know, that's got to be draft stamped so that
Right.
we all, you know, because, you know, Ryan, you might look at it and say, well, you know, I really think this needs to be tweaked here, or
Yeah.
Allison, you say, you know, this has got to be, so we all have an opportunity, especially if it's on the docket and just hasn't been processed yet.
But we don't even know if it went to the attorney, do we, Beth? Do you get that information?
I believe it did. When I'm looking at my files, I have 4 different versions of the bylaws in there and 4 different revisions. So I'm not completely clear on, I'm not completely clear on what the last version was. I mean, the last one I have here was from September 30th, 2019. I mean, that's the most recent draft it looks like I have in my files. But to your point, I mean, yeah, we should, I mean, they haven't gotten approved by council. And so, you know, we probably want to just look at them one more time before we do that. And then I can work with Lanny's team to get that on a, you know, agendized.
Well, the story was, yeah, it got to the attorney and then it got backlogged and then we were going to hear back and we never did.
Right.
So if we're looking at something and if anything has changed in the meantime where some of the bylaws in a year and a half don't make as much sense as they did, I don't know. I think we were pretty well ahead of it, but I think we should all get a shot at what we drafted. And if we're good for it, then let's rush this through. I mean, you know, enough's enough.
Yeah. I think even before we set up the committees, you know, we've got to figure out what we're doing, you know,
I agree.
and then come up with what committees serve that mission and vision. And I don't know, that seems the logical progression for me.
Do we want to have a subcommittee that works on planning a retreat and the topics on the retreat? I mean,
that makes sense.
And have it facilitated.
Well, in the past, again, that's generally been left up to Beth and I guess it would be Allison would be the ones that kind of plot it out. But if you want to make a subcommittee, you know, then that's another process. But that's the way it had worked.
I mean, I personally think that I'm not voting on this, I can't vote, but that it would be kind of helpful, at least it would be helpful for me to have both some new members and some prior members on that committee because, you know, then there's a fresh perspective as well as the historical perspective.
I would concur.
I'll work on you with that, Allison.
Yeah, I will too.
Yeah, I will too.
Yeah,
So if there's a subcommittee being joined, just a point of order, it needs to be motion.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to form a subcommittee to plan the 2021 retreat.
Okay.
Thanks, Jane. And do we have a second for that?
Sharon.
Great. Thanks, Sharon. And can we see the show of hands on folks who were interested in being on that subcommittee? I didn't catch everyone.
Everybody.
I think to comply
Can't
with,
have everybody.
I think, yeah, just comply with public meeting law, unless we want to talk about this again in a regular meeting, which we can do that. We need to have 7 or less. Doesn't mean that the other members can't come and observe and even make comments. But in terms of voting power, it has to be less than a quorum of the Arts Commission. But it's still a public meeting. So anyone can come, anyone can provide comment. But in terms of voting on decisions, it has to be less than a quorum.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Rebecca.
I'm still just raising my hand that I was willing to be on the commission, on the subcommittee.
Thanks. Thank you. I got you.
Okay.
And did anyone have any other thoughts on this as we move forward?
Yeah, I'll withdraw from it because I'd like to see a mix and some people, the newer people come in. But what I'd like to see is that the things that we have accomplished in the last 2+ years and push forward, that they get that they see these things. So we're not starting from bare scratch, or else we're going to be talking about this next year.
Right, right. Yeah, thanks, Jim. On that note, does anyone have any thoughts on for efficiency, so we're not dragging our feet through this, is there anything that we can review between now and our next regular meeting and discuss at our next regular meeting instead of jam packing all of this into a retreat?
Can we send out Beth, do you have the 2021 handbook, or is there a 2020?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
if we could get that and look at it. Most recent.
I'd like to see
Yeah, I think.
Any historical records on goals of the original bylaws,
Yep.
you know, so that we know where the committee was coming from and where they want to head, since the changes haven't taken effect. We don't know where. I don't know, because I've only been around a year. So
Yep.
so that documentation would be great to review, so I have context.
Yeah,
Beth,
me
do you have all
too.
that, or do you need it?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you have all the back? Did you say you had all the strikeouts of the bylaws, or do you need those? I have copies.
I believe I have them, but you can also send me your copies. That's fine.
Sharon?
So I just got word that our bylaws, they go every couple of years and they are batched like we had talked about, and ours is up in May.
Oh, well, okay.
Up in May or on the agenda in May?
I'm quoting you, up in May. So
Okay.
I don't want to put words in the mouth. So yeah, so it's in batches, and I'm if I were to guess, it means it's coming before the body in May.
Not that we're going to be lawless.
If we revise that, does that mess that up? Because we've been waiting. So if we're that close.
So ideally, it's every 5 to 10 years. Your team started working on edits in 2019. So
I don't think it'll mess us up if we want to tweak things. I think that's probably going to be fine.
Oh, sure.
But that's not very far away, is it either? So, so I'm getting that there's people that want to work on the bylaws. There's also people that want to work on planning a retreat, and not sure those are the same groups. For public meeting law, it would be good for us to decide who's going to be on the retreat planning and actually take a vote on that, so that it's clear. Because we have Rebecca, Allison, and Jane who said, yes, for sure, I want to help plan the retreat. I want to be on a subcommittee to plan the retreat, but we can't have more than 7, so.
So who else wants to be on that subcommittee? I think I saw some other hands.
I raised my hand, but I don't need to be.
Destry, that's great. We have a new person.
And I think
So
I also saw,
we use the word that subcommittee. What subcommittee?
The retreat planning subcommittee.
Retreat planning.
And then next we'll talk about the bylaw discussion committee.
Can I just get the names of the people then on the retreat committee, just so I make sure that I have it?
Who I have down so far is Rebecca, Allison, Jane, and Destry.
I saw Peg's hand up. Peg, is that something you were still interested in?
Yeah.
Great.
and Jim, were you interested?
I'm
I've
gonna-
written
I'm
your
gonna-
name down, but maybe I made a mistake.
I'm going to jump to the bylaws. I'm going to go back and finish that up.
Thanks. So Sharon, were you still interested or not in being on the retreat subcommittee?
If somebody wants to really badly, I don't want to take their spot. I would be really interested, but I don't want to take somebody's spot.
Thanks.
Well, I think we have 5 people so far: Rebecca, Allison, Jane, Destry, and Peg. So if we have room for 2 more.
I'll join.
Ryan?
Brian and Shelley might be interested. You know, she had to. Is there anyone else that's missing today?
Nope, Shelley's the only one that's not here. should we just vote on those 6 people joining, and then of course we can revisit it at the next meeting in case Shelley wanted to join as well. But does someone want to make a motion to form a subcommittee with Rebecca, Allison, Jane, Destry, Peg, and Ryan to plan a retreat for the Beaverton Arts Commission?
I move that we do that.
Second.
What she said. Yeah.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you guys.
And then so on the bylaws, is that something that we want to all review between now and the next meeting to help expedite that? Or are we having another subcommittee? I'm a little unclear on what the consensus is.
I think that someone should be responsible for the bylaws, because if there isn't a committee or someone assigned, we could end up with the same scenario where we think it's moving and it's not. There should be a keeper of some sort, whether that's a subcommittee or an assigned person. I think even just a small subcommittee can do it, led by Jim. So
There shouldn't be a whole lot of changes that need to be made to it because we just revised it. But you never know. And anybody, some fresh faces on it, and then we just rush it through and make sure that in May it gets approved.
Right.
it would also be good to make sure that the subcommittee is actually sharing the most recent bylaws for the proposed bylaws. 'Cause I hear
Is there somewhere that we can like download them from or something?
Oh, I can send them out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
everybody.
I think it would be good if we all plan to review them between now and our next regular meeting, and then let's discuss it as an agenda item next month, and then so we move it right along. Does that sound like a plan to everyone?
That's a tight time frame. I mean, when in May do we have to get in? If we're talking, the second week of April, and then we have to have that in our hands, and then bring it back to the BAC for approval. That's tight.
So an amendment to what I just mentioned, the process will start in May with council, but it may be May or June. The goal is that all bylaws are complete in time for summer, so fall recruitment is accurate.
Do we have any thoughts on how we can make it less tight?
Well, I don't. I'm hearing 2 different things, and I may be just misunderstanding. But I'm hearing a desire to take what's there, what we put forward, and make sure it gets through. That's one idea that I heard, and then the other idea that I heard was, let's take that, let's look at it again, see if there's any amendments that we want to put forward and go forward. I think the second thing that I heard isn't actually allowable by our bylaws. Because the first amendments have been actually pushed through, as a and then reviewed by the city attorney and as a package. Unless we request the city council to reject it, there's no mechanism for us to rescind that.
Well, the bylaws do lay out which version of bylaws? No, the section about amending the bylaws, I believe, is the same in all versions that we have right here. It's not super prescriptive. It just says Article 10, amendment to bylaws. Proposal, a member may propose an amendment to the BAC's bylaws by requesting that it be placed on the agenda at the next BAC meeting. If the chair approves of it being placed on the agenda, members shall vote on whether to approve the proposed amendment to the bylaws at that meeting. Review, as provided in Beaverton Code 2.03002, the board must send the proposed amendments to the city attorney's office for review. And then ratification, as provided in the Beaverton Code, proposed amendments to the board's bylaws are not effective unless city council ratifies the amendments by resolution.
But if they're looking at it in May, okay, and we decide we're going to table this till April, and then we go back and review it, and then we bring it to the back of the second week of May, too late. It might be. I think that's, if we want to, we might as well just submit what we have. We've waited long enough. I don't want to, that's.
Well,
that could be
Jim,
pushing.
what if they send it to us and we give feedback to you and Jane and Allison and Ryan, whoever wants to be on that committee or whatever, and then in April we discuss it and we're done at the April meeting,
Right.
or February or March meeting, and then
Well,
we're in plenty of time for May's submission.
If we do it, if we do it, I think in the next month, but if we wait,
Yeah.
I don't want to delay it because things are going to be revisions. What if it goes to the meeting and we need to make some more revisions? It's keep pushing it back.
Well, it's only March. The next meeting is March.
Next meeting is March. So, yeah, I guess that'd be fine. But why not take care of it tonight? Let's move forward. It's not going to be that big of a,
because we haven't seen it. We haven't looked at it. And like you said, you wanted to look at it and see if there was something that has changed in the past year and a half since you drafted it. I think that at least the committee that did it should look at it before the next meeting, and I think we could all look at it.
But then what's the point of the subcommittee? I mean, you're sort of saying we're all doing it, and then we're all doing it again, instead of like the subcommittee brings it forward, and then we can change it from that point. It just seems to me that's an extra step. When we're we've been dealing this for so long, and it's just that's why I'm frustrated, because we should have had this already in hand. And so I'm sick of the delays, quite frankly.
Yeah, I get that, but I think we should all have something, at least eyes on it. And
okay, that's fine.
I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts.
Okay, well, let's get it done.
I'm not the decider, but if we can accomplish both those goals of us all getting our eyes on it and getting it done in a timely manner, then I think that would be the ideal solution.
Ryan, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I'm throwing in my support with Jim here, because it takes a long time by design to make changes to things. And the previous board, whenever this resolution was passed to pass the bylaws and pass it on to the attorney and put it before the city council, that was done in good faith. And I believe that we should honor that. There is nothing that says that we can't start the process right now to review those bylaws and see if we want to change or make amendments to it. It's not like it's it's not like the thing that's going to the board is a whole new bylaws. It's an amendment of some sort to make amendments to the bylaws. So it's a living document, and whether or not we stop it and look at it and try to force it in a very short timeline, or whether we let that go through and then we do the same process and spend a little more time and be able to have a conversation about it is another thing. So that's just my perspective. So.
And it's really the job of a subcommittee to kind of refine it and bring it forward instead of everybody bringing it and then the subcommittee, goes back and then we bring it back. That's an extra month that we lost. That's why I said that. That's why it's pushing May. So I don't see why we will push forward with it and come back, and the BAC gets its opinion on and as they should. But whoever's on the subcommittee, we can bring it forward. It's not going to be that many changes, hopefully, but everybody's going to have an opinion on it. But let's not blow this.
Right.
But adding extra steps.
Sharon, you have a hand?
Oh, just for whatever it's worth. The word is that yes, our draft has not gone to council, and the board or our commission will need to vote on final draft language in April, for whatever that's worth.
That's means
very helpful. Yeah.
That means whatever the attorney changes in it, because if we put different language in, the city attorney would still have to review it by city code. So.
Well, and that response comes from my question: is our draft able to be amended?
So who are you talking to, Sharon?
Somebody in the city.
Oh, okay.
Allison,
Oh yeah, Shoshana.
just really quick, I just want to be, we're after 8 right now. So we really need to be respectful of everyone's time. So this may be a discussion that we need to, I don't know, whatever we need to do, but you know, I've been on since 5:15 and I know lots of other people have stuff they've been doing too. So just please, and if that means we need to hire, you know, elect a timekeeper to help us, maybe that's what we need to do too. I don't know. Thank you.
Thanks for the time reminder. So I think in the you have a question also I saw.
I was just going to say, as a brand new member, I would love the opportunity to look at the bylaws. As you know, have been amended. I understand it took a ton of work, but I just want to be able to see it before, you know, we vote to approve it. That's all.
I think that Beth was going to send them out to everyone.
Yeah, I can find the red line version as well, so it's clear what was changed.
Okay. Great. Sounds good. And if there's no more discussion for right now on that, thanks for sending those out, Beth, so we can all review them in the meantime.
But just to be clear, is the direction of this group that I will email them out between now and the next, I can probably mail them out tomorrow. The next meeting, everyone's going to review them. And at the April meeting, you're going to take a vote to, you know, whether this is the version that is sent to the city attorney. Is that what?
Well, I think if there's anything pressing that anyone feels needs to be changed after reviewing it or seeing it for the first time, that would happen in March next month, right? Right.
Sorry, I meant March. I said April. I meant March. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's do that. And thank you. Many thanks to the subcommittee, Jim, Jane, Mary Ellen, and remind me who else was on the subcommittee that worked on those. Was that everyone?
Sharon also.
Sharon, yes, thank you. Thanks so much. So thank you so much to all of you for your work on that. All right, so Beth, staff liaison updates.
Yeah, I just have a few. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., I'm doing an interview with Blessing Hancock, the artist who designed the new pieces that are at the Public Safety Building insignia. It's going to be recorded, so because we're doing it on Zoom, and then we're going to push it out over social media. We didn't do a really broad invite to the meeting because we thought we would record it, and then if there was any edits we needed to make, we would do that, and then we would send it out to the broader community. But if you want to join at 3 p.m., I sent all of you guys a calendar invite, and if you want to ask any questions of the artist, you can come to that meeting. We do have our large and small project grants open right now for submissions, and we're pushing the word out about that through our e-news and the Your City newsletter and social media. But if you know anyone that might want to apply for a small or a large project grant, certainly you can send them my way and I can help them get to where they need to go or answer any questions that they might have. And then just a reminder that March 11th at noon, this is part of the workshop series that we collaborate with Hillsborough and TBC. We have, I think, a topic that will be really timely and helpful. At least I know it will be for me. It's called How the Arts Can Heal and Help Us Overcome Difficult Times. And it's a free workshop. So I'll send out a reminder about that as well. But it's a free kind of 2-hour conversation. One of the artists actually was recommended to me by Mary Ellen Baker. And actually, Lynn recommended the other person. So anyway, I think it's going to be a really meaningful conversation. That's what I had for now.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the updates? No. Okay. So next is Chris Zukian. Executive Director for the Research Center. Hi, Chris.
Hi, everyone. Good to join you. Looks like I joined a lively discussion just now. So I'm going to make this very, very quick and respect your time since you're way past time here. And I'm not going to, unfortunately, show fancy pictures and all that. The center is coming along very nicely. How many of you tuned in to the February 2nd City Council update by chance? Any of you? Yeah, I see some nodding heads. Great, thank you. So you will have seen that update, project update to City Council. And you know that the capital campaign is going really well. We have just launched a $100,000 in 100 days campaign to wrap up the capital campaign. And I'm happy to report that we only have $51,000 left in the community phase of the campaign to raise. There's been 308 seats out of the 550 that have been named. So for those of you and loved ones who are interested in naming a seat, you better get in on it fast because I think we're going to go through them pretty quickly. You probably also will have seen that the contingency fund for the project, the owner's contingency, is much lower than we would like it at this point. That is due to a variety of factors since groundbreaking as part of the project from the beginning, including some design issues or surprises down below ground at the round, and as well as some, of course, COVID impacts, as well as some design coordination issues as we've gone through the project, which has contributed to a lower than anticipated contingency. And in order to finish the project, you will have heard at that City Council meeting that we anticipated needing about $2 million more of contingency fund to finish the project. That source of funding has not been finalized yet because we actually don't need that cash right now. Although we are building, right? We're continuing to build, and we're council and everybody is committed to finishing this project. One source of funding is more revenue bonds at the city, which would still be backed by lodging tax dollars. But when we issued the bond to build the center, the half that's publicly funded, the other half is privately funded. The public funding, that bond was actually issued as part of a larger bond, a $90 million bond that also funded some of the remainder of the public safety center and some other projects of the city. So there is some funds there that our finance director at the city sees that can, as a potential source to cover that contingency shortfall for the PRCA project. So we are still looking closely. Additionally, separate from that is a $1.5 million state lottery fund grant that was rescinded last year due to COVID. So we're in the running again for that grant. We'll see what happens with the state budget this year as far as capital dollars. The building itself, like I said, is coming along really nicely, and glass has gone up in the front of the building. If you've driven by it at all, the external cladding is being put on, and in the interior is actually being painted right now. The ceiling of the theater and the stage is being painted. Like I said last time, we are looking for times when you all can tour, but it's looking like it's going to be more and more in the late spring as we discover how we can take more groups through the center because of social distancing and just things being tighter. So that is still on top of mind and on mind. We have not forgotten about that. And then finally, I'll wrap up to say, while the majority of staff hires for the center will happen after this summer and beyond in the next fiscal year, the next position that's been posted as of yesterday is the production manager position. So I'm looking for an experienced production manager that is very expert at working with stage rigging and production management and working on a variety of types of productions to join the team so that they are ready here on the ground as things get installed in the theater. I will send you all that link. Please share it with your networks and encourage people to apply to the position. Any quick questions I can answer?
When does that position close?
When does it close? Is that what you asked, Ryan? We're going to start looking at resumes in about 2 weeks and scheduling interviews. Really, what we've posted on is to say after March 8th, it's unlikely that we will accept no applications, is how we framed it.
Got it. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for the updates, Chris. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's great to see you all.
Good to see you too.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, so that's the end of our agenda meeting. Is there any new business anyone would like to bring forth? No? Well, thank you all so much for your dedication and volunteerism, and thank you for staying over, and I will do better at keeping time at the next meeting. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison, for stepping up. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Big time. Thank you, Allison. Good to see everybody.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Thank
Hey, guys.
you.
See y'all soon.
Bye.